Okay, so how do you actually draw a trend line? So firstly, you need to understand that we have two types of trends. So I'm pretty sure you now understand that we have we have an uptrend and then we have our downtrend, right? And then secondly, the first thing is to identify obvious peaks and troughs. So what we mean by this is that we're looking for those points that are obvious. So in a downtrend, we are looking for peaks. So we're looking for those peaks that the market has reached, right? So as you can see, this point are what we call our peaks. When we're drawing our uptrend line, we're basically looking for those troughs. So because so the market is going up like that, right? So we're looking for these troughs right here at the bottom. This is what we call our troughs, and then we connect those. So when you connect those, we get our uptrend. When you connect the peaks in and out in a downtrend, we have our downtrend. So remember, in a downtrend, we call this the lower highs. So you have to connect the lower highs. This is what we're calling the peaks. And then in an uptrend, if you want to draw that uptrend line, we are connecting what we call our higher lows is what we are connecting. So as we explained earlier, how you spot an uptrend. So an uptrend has higher highs and higher lows. Higher lows is what we connect. So you have to get at least two of those points that we connect together, and then we have our uptrend. In a downtrend, we have so to spot a downtrend, you have the lower lows and the lower highs. Lower lows, lower highs. So the lower highs, you connect at least two of those, and then you'll be able to get your perfect trend lines. So you connect a minimum of two peaks or highs, and you have a downtrend line. And then in an uptrend, you connect a minimum of two troughs or lows. Then you have your uptrend line. So you always start the line from the left going to the right, because remember, the market is moving rightwards, so we don't want to go backwards. We're looking at the market going backwards, but we want to go forward, right? So you always draw your line starting from the left going right, starting from the left going right. That's how you draw your trend line. So there are a few aspects that you need to keep in mind before drawing valid trend lines. You can just open your charts and draw whatever lines you want. So you must get familiar with firstly how to draw valid trend lines. As we just showed you right now, you look for the peaks and then the troughs, the obvious ones, right? You mustn't force them. They must be clear and they must be pretty much obvious, right? And then at the same time, you also need to get to understand when is a trend line still valid and when a trend line is invalid, right? We need to get familiar with the types of trend lines that are likely to hold and the ones that are not going to hold, right? So how to use support and resistance to your advantage. As we explained, support and resistance, very powerful when you put it together with other strategies. Be aware when the trend is starting or ending. So you must be very, very familiar with this so that you are able to capture the trend right when it's getting started. At the end of that trend, you actually take your profit, right? And then you must also be familiar with the use of technical analysis for more confirmation. No indicators at all, just pure price action. So that's basically what I just showed you right now, how you be able to use candlestick patterns that we just learned earlier. You know, the pin bar, the harami, the bullish engulfing, the bearish engulfing, all those stuff, and the dojis and all those good candlestick patterns that we just gave you. You'll be able to use that together with this, and then you'll be able to to capture those trades. And then some other important key points to keep in mind. Basically, there are different trend lines. So we have the outer trend line and the inner trend line. So the outer trend lines are usually the main trend lines, drawn from much significant peaks or troughs, as I just showed you right now. These are actually quite obvious in larger time frames, especially the H1 and going higher, right? So the 4 hour, the daily, and the weekly, as we recommend that you actually start analyzing the market using those bigger time frames. And then we have what we call the inner trend lines. So these are drawn inside the outer trend line. So they are clear on the smaller time frames, the 30 minutes and the lower, because you're going a little bit inner, you're going a little bit deeper, you're not looking for the overall trend. So remember, these are the steps for you to draw a valid trend line. So firstly, you have to identify some obvious peaks or troughs. So in an uptrend, we're looking for some obvious troughs, and then in the which is what we call our higher lows. So higher lows in an uptrend, we are looking for those to connect as our troughs. So we're looking for at least two, and then we connect. But if there's more, then it's also fine. It just means that you didn't capture the trade at the third entry. So it's not too late if it's still valid, but if it's not valid, then you can't take the trade anymore. But basically, at least two is what we're looking for, and then the third touch, we're looking for an entry, as well as the fourth going forth, right? Okay, so now that you have your 2 points, you spotted them out, you have spotted your 2 peaks or 2 troughs, The second thing is to connect them. So you have to connect them. You have to connect the two troughs in an uptrend. You have to connect your two peaks in a downtrend. So this is basically what we mean. So once you connect them, then you have your line, right? So the last thing is to basically just draw the trend line. As you can see right there, that's your perfectly drawn trend line right there, connecting all the peaks, right? So here, if you want to know how to actually use this, how to put some circles and dots and everything, you can go to insert on your MetaTrader or on your trading view. You can actually select shapes and then you can put these dots, but I mean, you can just take a look at with your eyes and then just connect two of them and just draw your trend line, right? So it's not that hard to spot out the peaks or the troughs so that you can connect them all together. But that's basically what you need to do. Once you have it, you just draw your line and there you have a valid trend line. Okay, so some of the most important things to note is that most beginners get confused when they look at the charts and see way too many lows and highs. They cannot figure out which two they should use to draw a trend line. So here is how to figure it out. For lows, so when you're looking for lows and you're trying to draw your trend line, after that low candle, there should be a lot more higher candles on the right? There should be a lot of higher candles on the right. And then for when you're drawing a trend line going down, it's obviously the opposite. You're looking for that highest point on the right. Going forward, you should have a lot of lower candles. So the candles that are going forth, they should be way lower than this point that where you want to draw your trend line starting from. So that is how you figure it out. When you look going up from that point where you see the lowest point, there should be a lot of candles on the right that are higher than that point. And then when you're looking for the upper peak, you want to draw a trend line going down, there should be a lot more candles lower than the previous candle starting from that point. So that's basically how you should be able to see this. So you should be looking for more lower candles when you're drawing the downtrend, right? On the right side of that peak that you want to use, that you want to take a look at and use it as the most significant peak for that trend line, right?